So I'm here with Mama Cat. I wanted to show you guys Mama Cat. Say cute. Hi. See the camera? See the camera? So I'm with her on the floor here, playing with her. Yeah, I have no idea what I want to talk about. So some people have asked why I don't make world predictions anymore, because I used to, but then I got away from that. And I noticed that that happens a lot with like psychics. Like once you could. Oh, let's see. Hello. All right. So I tried to make this video earlier, but I got a call from my assistant, and she wanted to tell me about a client. So I was like, okay. So totally interrupted my flow. I'm here in the kitchen. I'm actually cooking. I'm making shepherd's pie. So it's become one of my favorite things to make. But I wanted to talk to you guys about world predictions and people who make world predictions or psychics who make world predictions. I actually used to make world predictions back when I first started being a psychic, and I think one of the reasons why I was doing it back then is because I think I was trying to have validation, or trying to get validation with my abilities. I was wanting for people to say, look, I'm psychic, I can sense things, and I guess I was trying to prove something to people. So I did make quite a few world predictions. Some of them came to pass, some of them didn't. I know I predicted months and months in advance that the Supreme Court would pass same-sex marriage. So I predicted that months in advance to the letter, the exact month that it would pass. So that was pretty cool. And then I also predicted some potential cure about the Ebola. I think it was the Ebola virus that was big. But I predicted something about them using a protein from an existing virus, and they were going to use a protein structure to help create, something to combat Ebola. So I predicted that as well. And a few weeks or months later, it came out on the paper that they were trying to use some sort of protein structure to find a cure for the Ebola virus. So that was interesting. But I've gotten away from world predictions. I still sense things. I mean, I still sometimes pick up on things worldwide, especially. And now it's not intentional. Now it's accidental. I'll be in a reading with a client, and I just happen to be tuning into their circumstances or their career situation, and it just happens to coincide with some sort of a company organization that's on a world scale. Or some sort of event that happens that causes a change in their situation, and that's kind of my loop around. I'm like, well, that's interesting that that's happening around that time, because that indicates to me that this is going to be happening, and so I can kind of deduce or assume that something is happening on the world stage because this is happening with this type of company. So that happens sometimes, and it's by accident, it's by sheer accident where I'll pick up on something on the world stage. But honestly, I try to avoid making world predictions. One, because I'm really setting myself up for criticism, and honestly, it's I already deal with enough criticism as a psychic that I don't need to be constantly trying to prove myself. I prove myself with every single read. It's every single reading that I do, that's my opportunity to prove that I can do this or not for that person. And there are always going to be people out there who don't like me, or who don't appreciate psychics, or who don't like psychics, who think we're all frauds. And there are always going to be skeptics. There are always going to be people who have issues with psychics. And I really don't care about them, because there's nothing I can ever say or do that's going to ever change their mentalities or change their minds. And this past week, I had a family, a group of people, and they came to do a mediumship session. And it was kind of a challenging mediumship session because I was having trouble understanding the spirit. There was information coming through, which I later figured out that it was actually another spirit from the session right behind them who kept trying to interrupt or come through during that session. But so towards the end of the session, all this information came forward. All this, I picked up on so much information regarding their loved one. Right off the bat, and then there was stuff they couldn't connect with, which I don't expect for them to connect with everything, because many times when I do a mediumship session, people's brains go to mush and they don't remember stuff. They they in the moment cannot think quickly enough with regards to what I'm saying and how it clicks. But when they go back over the recording, they end up it makes sense to them. And they're like, oh, I know what he's talking about now. So with with this particular mediumship session, towards the end, after giving them all this information, one of the clients, she asked me a question, and I already knew where she was going with the question because it was one of those, let me test the medium, or let me test the psychic. So she was like, ask him what our great grandmother's name is and what we used to call her, like what is her exact name. And I'm like, oh great, one of those people don't seem to understand is that I don't hear them in my head. Like I don't hear these spirits talking out loud. Like what we're doing right now, I'm giving you a conversation, I'm giving you words and specific phrases and whatnot. Spirits don't communicate like that. It's a very subtle form of communication, and they use memory, thoughts, ideas, and feelings. So if there's, for example, if there's a nickname and the nickname is Pocket Pie, just made up something, Pocket Pie, I would have never heard that in my lifetime. There's no way that I'm going to get that. Now, I can probably get something close to it, or the spirit can give me something that represents or symbolizes that, but I'm probably not going to get that. And I already know that. And even when they ask me, I don't go like, okay, well now you're just trying to test me to see if I'm real or not. I get it, but you're just now trying to discredit everything I just gave you, and that's a lot of information. But I don't do that. I'm just like, well, okay, this is someone who wants more validation. So, and that's happened a few times. And interestingly enough, the spirit does sometimes come through with information that validates validates me further, and it's like, oh, like, and I will tell them, I'll answer the question. But in this particular instance, I don't even know if I got anything that they could use or not, because I kept seeing specific sign, and I was like, this is what I'm seeing. I'm not sure what it means, but this is what I'm seeing. I'm not sure if this correlates to that name or not, but this is what I'm seeing. She didn't say yes or no. She just said okay. So I don't know if she was satisfied with it or not, and that's okay. Like I said, some people come in very skeptical, and I don't want people to come in completely gullible, because that's what's wrong with the psychic industry and mediumship industry. It's like people go and they are completely gullible, and whatever someone says, they believe. I want people to come in thinking that everything that I say is going to be 100% accurate. Like, no psychic is 100% accurate. And when I'm sharing information with people, I'm just trying to understand what is happening in my mind, what I'm sensing, and I'm trying to give people as accurate as a way that I can share that with them as possible, the way that I'm sensing it. But some people think that what I say is the gospel, and every single thing is exactly how it's. And I'm like, no, like, don't misunderstand and don't misinterpret what a psychic reading is. A psychic reading is just me using my psychic senses to tune into details and give you as much information as I can, and make some assumptions about your life, give you some idea or my feel on what I think may be going on or what's going to be happening. Not, this is going to happen when this occurs, and this is going to, and it doesn't work that way. And we're only tools, that's all. We're only tools, but to be used to, like, help you make more sense of things. But sometimes what we get isn't enough for us to make sense of it either. So sometimes we can only give you what we give you. And it's okay for a psychic to say, I'm not sure, or I don't know, but this is what I'm sensing, or this is what I'm getting. And that's where I try to be different. That's where I try to be honest with people. And I know, like, with world like predictions, if you care about the answer, if you care about the outcome, then you're already compromised. Because if I'm going to tune in, like, if someone comes to me for a reading and I'm going to give them a reading, if the less I care about that person physically, like mentally, like emotionally, the less I'm invested in that person's life, the less I care about what's happening in that person's life, the better, because it allows me to be objective and not really, like, get pulled in any specific direction out of bias. So when someone comes to me and I'm completely open and objective to their circumstances and situation, I'm going to sense things that they may not be open to, that they may not be aware of, but that's my job. It's my job to pick up on stuff that they wouldn't be aware of or know about. Versus, someone who comes to me who's a friend or a family member, I know their whole situation, I know their life story, I know their ups and downs. It's going to be hard for me to give them an accurate read, because I care about that person, and me caring about someone already has contaminated me with bias, has contaminated me with feelings of, I wish this for them or I want that for them. So that's why it's hard for psychics and mediums to tune into our own relatives or to our family members, to our friends, close friends, and to even myself. It's hard for me to tune into myself because I care too much about the outcome. So if I make a world prediction, like for example when like Donald and Hillary were running for president, so many psychics got that wrong because they were like, oh, Hillary's going to win, and she didn't. Donald Trump won. And the reason why I think so many people got that wrong is because they were contaminated by their own bias. They were wanting Hillary to win or Donald to win, and so they picked the candidate based off of what they wanted, and they weren't actually sensing things, accurately. They were already compromised by their own feelings. And so when you're making a world prediction, if you are going to be directly affected by the event, you're compromised. You cannot sense accurately. It's like a police officer. Like if a police officer is working a case, then he has to remain objective. He has to see things from a unique perspective. But if it's his own family members, he's compromised. He's already been personally affected. It's going to be hard for him to investigate a case and get solid answers without personally affecting the process themselves. So it's the same way. So if a psychic is going to sense information or make a world prediction, it's going to be really hard for us to be accurate if we care about the circumstances surrounding the events. That's why I don't make world predictions anymore. Sometimes if I sense something, like if you'll watch my video with the hurricane, I had all these dreams leading up to the event, and then like I didn't even realize what I was doing, what I was sensing until after the fact when it came to light. So sometimes when I see something and I see it pretty clearly in that situation, if I know what it's in reference to, I'll share it. I've shared plenty of dreams before on my channel on here. But if I don't know what it's about, I'm just going to say, like, I don't know what this is about. This is what I'm dreaming about. So I'm not sure what this is in reference to. And that's usually how it works for me. So I just try to be honest with what I sense, as much as what I sense, giving you as much information as possible. But I try not to do the world event predictions anymore, even though sometimes I may do really well, sometimes I don't do very well. Because if I'm personally affected by the outcome, it's going to totally mess with the way I sense details. And I want to be objective. You have to be objective. When you do a mediumship session, when you have to do a psychic reading, you have to be objective. If you care too much about the person you're reading, you're compromised, and it's going to affect the session. That's why I tell people, like, they're like, Ferny, I want to be your friend. And I'm like, oh, I totally get it. I've met some really amazing people as clients, but I've been very, very picky about not getting close with my clients on that level, because the moment that I get close to someone, I can't read for them as clearly anymore. And I have one friend who, she was one of my regulars, and we just had such a vibe. And now we're really good friends, and we've traveled together and stuff. And she's always like asking me a psychic question. I'm like, I don't know, I can't sense very well for you anymore because we're friends now. And she's like, shit, Ferny, now I have to find another psychic. I'm like, I tried to tell you. I taught you that, if you get close to somebody, you can't read for them. And I know my sister, she gets irritated because I can't read for her. And she's always like, Nano, they call me Nano, right? Because everybody calls me Ferny. My name is Fernando, but my family calls me Nano. And, well, most of my family call me Nano. Some family members call me Ferny. But she'll like, Nano, like, now I go online and I look for a psychic and you're like the top, and I want another psychic who's accurate or who can tell me something. That's the instant pot. So making the mashed potatoes for the shepherd's pie. But she'll be like, I wish you could read me, and she has to go find another psychic. I'm like, I'm sorry about that. Like, it's like, I wish I could read you too. I wish I could read me. That would make my life a lot easier. I would love to know what's going to happen tomorrow. And every now and then, I am able to sense something about my own life, but it's kind of a fluke because, or I believe it's like, our higher self communicating to me, or it's, God trying to say, hey, Ferny, like, this is what you need to know. Get on it. But I wish I could sense for myself as well, but it just doesn't work that way. The hurricane has devastated a lot of people, and I didn't think I mentioned this in this last video, but I want to mention it in this video. You guys can still help out. Even if you're in a different city, even if you're in a different country, and I know we've got like another category, well, we got a category 5 hurricane coming this way, and to Florida, and I know that's freaking people out too, and it's freaking me out a little bit. No, not a little bit. Actually, it's kind of freaking me out a lot because I'm like, what the hell's going on? But you guys can still help out with the Hurricane Harvey stuff. So if you want, please go to the City of Houston website. There is a complete list there of all the things that you can do if you want to participate, if you want to help out. I know the Red Cross is still participating with operations here, so you can donate to the Red Cross. You can take donations. If you live in the city of Houston, you can take donations to some of the shelters. Right now, they can really use your money more so than they can use your donation. So I think money would be more helpful right now, so they can use that to help them continue to support those families. If you live in a neighborhood that was affected, go to your neighbor's house, see if they need your help with sheetrock, or with tearing out the sheetrock or doing some demo work. I know, like, I was donating earlier to the animal foundations. There's several, like there's Bark here in Houston. We have Bark. We have Friends for Life, and we have another Pet Alive, I think, and different organizations in the area that are taking animals, saving them, and they are finding them new homes because there's so many animals that were displaced from the hurricane as well. But if you can, give $5, $10, $15, $20 if you can. $50 would be great. So hopefully you guys can, use a link and then donate some money. So if you want to volunteer, I know that there were so many volunteers that they had to turn some people away. But if you do want to volunteer, you can go online to volunteerhouston.org or .com as well. And I'll link that below as well. So if you guys want to participate in that as well. But I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.